This is another New Black World Order TV Productions. What's up, family?
Hey, how you doing, brother?
What's happening, man?
Okay. I mean, it's been an interesting morning.
Yes, sir.
And it just put me, and the experiences just brought back into my awareness, which really never left, but it was re-emphasized, that the mind is totally unstable. The human mind is totally unstable. One day it's happy, the next day it's sad. One day it's positive, the next day it's negative. One day you believe in yourself, the next moment you don't. If people are honest with themselves, they would realize that the mind is totally unstable and cannot be trusted. And everything that's happening in the world today, including the murders and everything, police brutality and the attack on police and child molestation and everything that's happening in the planet is all happening in the mind first. That's where it's all happening. And the mind has been conditioned and still being conditioned by the events that are taking place. And people are taking this personally. It's the it's the concept that we have of ourselves that is creating the confusion in our own mind. So then we see others, what we perceive to be as others, and not seeing the essence of the being, and then we make a judgment on how they look, what skin color they have, what profession they're in, what their financial situation is. We make these judgments on these people, and then when the mind makes a judgment on something, it subliminally suggests to yourself that you are better or you are worse than someone else. And when you're in that state of thinking, in that state of thought, then that is creating the division. It's building the ego and fortifying the separation among all of humanity. And so I'm just reminded again, like I said, how unstable the mind is, and until we can get into our original state of being, which is the perceiver of the mind, because it's down to perceiving. What the essence of you is perceiving the world of form. The omnipresence is perceiving this, is not directly involved. So a brother came to me the other day and said, well, how is being dealing with the events that are taking place that just took place in the last week, talking about the incidents in Dallas and Minnesota and things of that nature, and Baton Rouge. And where that was a good question, but the response was, and still is, it's not being that's involved in this. This is the human mind. This is conditioned. You can't take that. I mean, when you take it personally, I'm not saying consciousness is expressing itself in multiple ways, including the ones who are actually involved in the incidents, those who are perceiving the incidents and the responses of the incidents, like the marches and all that. So every consciousness is playing every part. So all of it is necessary. I'm not here to suggest that one thing or another should or should not be done. If the consciousness is expressing itself in the form of a person who's protesting, then that's what consciousness is doing. If consciousness is expressing itself in the form of a police officer, then that's how consciousness is expressing itself. If consciousness is expressing itself in the form of a good, so-called good person or a bad person, that's part of consciousness expression as well. This whole play of consciousness has a positive and negative personification. What is a movie without a villain or a good guy, or love and hate? If every movie contains these things, so consciousness is experiencing itself through form. And all of this, so if you feel like you got to get involved in that way, then that's what you do. But there are some who know to get out the way, because the human mind is self-destructive, and so it's going to destroy itself. The ego is going to destroy itself anyway. So when you're resting in being, you know to get out the way. Now, I'm not saying if something comes your way, if an event comes your way, if you're resting in being, then you're going to respond appropriately in the moment. But you can't be so consumed with your physical existence that you're afraid to die.
Say that again. You
can't be so consumed with your physical composition that you are afraid to die. Fear of death is what's causing a lot of the quick draw out from the cops and from the citizen. You know, this
Right.
incident when the cop and pull a person over, the fear has already been established.
False emotions appearing real.
Exactly. So everybody's trying to preserve their physical existence, so it's so easy. So the thoughts start downloading at that point. Well, what am I have
who, what, why, well,
and how
coulda,
quick
coulda,
can I
woulda.
kill you before you kill me?
Right.
So all those things are happening in the mind, and it doesn't necessarily even have to go to that place.
Right.
If you rest in the peace of God, which the scriptures say the peace of God surpasses all understanding. You're not going to anticipate a certain outcome because you're living in the moment. You're dealing with the moment. You're not going to anticipate, you're not going to anticipate an event or a perceived event that could happen, and by not projecting that thought, you might refrain from reacting in a manner that causes the friction in the first place.
Okay, so this brings me back to a question that came to my mind after we did the video of the day.
Yeah.
When you was telling me about that you can create situations in your mind and the universe will present that to you.
Yes, sir.
Now, after a while I had a problem with that.
Okay, please
right?
share.
I understood it, you know, pretty much, you know, but then I was thinking about what about the 80-year-old lady, like at the red light, she takes off as it turns green and a drunk driver hit her out of nowhere.
Okay.
Did she summon that?
Not necessarily. Certain events, I mean, you can't really explain every event because one, you don't know the old lady's past and the karma she created and what energy field she's in at the time she's at that red light.
What about the aborted baby?
The aborted baby?
Yeah, the baby that got aborted.
Yes.
Right? Or the 2-year-old child that was raped and killed.
Yes, well.
Did that child have a past that summoned that to them? Did that child have
it could be a result of a parent or a descendant that created the karma that has been passed on to the child.
Or it's the other observer.
Or what do you mean?
The other observer that's creating reality.
No, there is only the observer. The observer is the witness self. It's the omnipresence. It's the I am that I am. That's the only true observer. And the observer, which some people refer to as God, but if you get into the definition of God according to religion, then you're not going to come to this understanding of God.
Right.
But God, according to your own experience, if you are quiet enough to observe your own thoughts and your own body, you will see that there's a presence that's always here and never changes. That is the only true observer. So the observer is not doing anything, it's just observing its creation.
Okay, so who or what would you describe or give a terminology to the person who's creating stuff? They are not the observer, then what are they?
It's not a person who's creating stuff.
No, I'm talking about like me.
You
like
saying
when you were saying,
trying to project?
When I was talking about detaching from the thought, when I did believe in God, that, you know, like hearing Philando Castillo's girlfriend, hearing Alton Sterling's girlfriend and his son crying, if I believed in God and I was telling you that I'll go do something about that shit, and you was like, you know, it's not good for you to think that way because you could create a situation that'll come to you. Right. So how do we create these situations? We have power outside of the one who's observing?
No, but you do as an incarnation of the power that's observing. He's giving you a mind, or this force has given you, the omnipresence has given you a mind, a brain, a body.
So I can participate.
And you have 1% will to choose what you want to do. But that choice takes place in the mind. So you do have a choice on how you want to express your thought.
Okay.
You do have a choice, but ultimately everything is in the sphere or the presence of the divine source, which is ultimately in control. You have 1% will, but you can notice this by knowing that there are events that are taking place outside of your physical presence that you have no control over. You didn't have no control over what took place in Dallas, you, the physical form.
Right.
You didn't have no place on that brother who shot those cops. So there are certain events that are happening beyond your control, like even your own breathing. You're not making yourself breathe. That's happening all by itself. That's another level of intelligence. Your immune system is functioning. You're not making that happen.
Right.
That's happening all by itself. So
Right.
there is an intelligence working that's sustaining you without your choice, without you having to decide.
And
whether
then
you
there's
want
a
to do
part of me that can affect the flow of things.
Yes, there's a part of you that you was given, the mind has been given the power to bring things into existence.
Okay.
If you believe it hard enough and you concentrate hard enough, you can make certain things happen.
To other people and yourself?
You can not really make things happen to other people as far as if you just thinking. You could project those thoughts. Because some people will disagree with it. They would say, well, there are people who can think about the destruction of somebody else and they will make that happen.
Or the joy of something.
Or the joy of somebody else. You can put that energy out there, yes. You can put the energy out there, but is it really you making that happen? Do you really have the power to bring somebody else joy, or do they have to be a willing participant and to receive that energy that you're sending and to establish that joy?
It's a dual thing.
It's a dual thing. You can't do anything alone with your own thinking.
You got to have somebody that opens up to that signal.
Exactly. And the universe is ultimately going to decide whether it wants to, is what's beneficial for you. Because some people want $1 million right now, so they'll be thinking about $1 million right now and it never come.
That's always my question to the people who talk that way. Like, yeah, make your $1 million.
Make it happen right now.
Or make that destruction that you're talking about.
Exactly. Make it appear.
I do believe it's something to that.
You can start focusing on destruction of another, and that destruction will bounce off of them and come right back at you.
Or joy.
Depending on their sphere, their atmosphere, because you have a light atmosphere, a spiritual body. And if that spiritual body is surrounded, what they call that the shield of God, that's represented by the six-pointed star. If that shield is around you, and somebody that's throwing negative energy towards you, it will bounce off of your force field and bounce back to them. If you focus on somebody who is totally absorbed in love, you will be destroyed.
Okay.
You will be destroyed. But in the same token, that's why it says love your enemies. Because if you putting hate towards your enemy, that hate could bounce back to you. You can send hate out, because whatever thought you send out is automatic, it's going to come back to you. If you send out a hateful thought, eventually come back. It might take a year, it might take 2 years, it might take another lifetime, it might come through your children, but that thought is going to return.
So we should be expecting a great return or a great visitation.
A great visitation or a great return.
From the amount of things that's been put out. Like,
you see it happening now.
Right.
You see it happening now. All the hate that's been generated, you see the result of it. All the oppression and poverty that this society and the world is putting out, you see the result. It's exploding. People are tired of suffering. They're tired of getting oppressed. And the so-called elite, the ones who print the money and control the money and control the economy, they have suppressed certain things that could be beneficial to humanity because it doesn't benefit them individually financially. Okay. So those type of things like 0-point energy, that we can collect the energy from the atmosphere and heat every home and feed everybody. We got enough resources just in nature that could take care of the whole planet. But because there's not a profit in that type of information has been suppressed. And I'm not telling you what I believe, I'm telling you what I know, because you can research this stuff and you will see scientists have been murdered. People like Nikola Tesla, his inventions have been suppressed. His laboratory was blown up because he was coming up with things like 0-point energy he was collecting free for everybody worldwide. Right. Water, all this stuff that's natural, people are trying to put a price on it and trying to own it because of the ego in order to control other people and to keep themselves wealthy and keep other people oppressed. That's the ego in its purest form. Okay. I was listening to Alex Jones, and I think I mentioned this on the video I did, Miss Me with the Obama shit. Yeah. And Alex Jones talks about a lot of things that you talk about. Yes. And then he always try to act like black people are just bugging.
And if Alex Jones just found out about these multi-corporations like 20, 30 years ago, I'm trying to get him to see, because I'm going to make a video maybe tomorrow so addressing him. He's already checked out the video I addressed to him. And he made 2 responses to it. But I'm trying to get Alex Jones to see, you just realized that white folks was fucked up, right? And so now you coming with the Trilateral Commission, all this information, shit that people like Doc and other teachers been told us about, right? But these are the same corporations that enslaved us. It's the same families. And so it wasn't nobody talking against them when they had us down.
And now there's the chickens coming home to roost, they want to bring it out.
And you see that they don't give a fuck about you, Alex Jones?
We want to make clear that it's not all white folks. I want to make clear. It's not all white. There are white people right now putting pipeline in different parts of Africa so that people can get water. There are white people that are doing great things.
Well, they should do this shit. I ain't giving them no pat on the back.
But everybody, the point we're making is that there's good, that I'm making is good and bad in every race. You cannot
I agree with that.
Disagree that there are black devils among us who are out here causing just as much destruction as some of these white elites.
I doubt that.
Oh, I'm telling you, dog, because I've experienced it myself.
Me too.
I've experienced.
Look at my hand.
The worst. I've experienced some serious
black devils. I went through it with the black.
So I'm not giving nobody.
I don't think they out violent.
I'm not saying they out violent. I'm saying evil is evil. It doesn't have the degree of it is a matter of interpretation, which takes place in the mind.
Takes place in all the minds.
Yeah, that's all taken in the mind. Your interpretation and the degree that you place on it, that's your personal preference. But a sin is a sin.
And for the record, this is where me and TALAH AMUN disagree on the racist, but he's still my brother at the end of the day. And I accept his viewpoint.
I understand why the hatred towards the race of white people, but that is just like saying all black people are lazy and don't have motivation. Because I've heard some white people, some people that I know say that black people are lazy and they just want welfare and they want somebody to take care.
But niggas are.
If a class system wasn't in place, if everything was even killed, black people wouldn't do shit. They wouldn't do their part. So they generalize. When you generalize, that's a very dangerous thing. Because one, you'll miss your blessing. Because I was in politics in New Jersey. And at that time that I was in politics and I ran for fire commissioner and I was heading for mayor before they came and stopped me. And these were the elite people in my community in Sicklerville, New Jersey during that time. There was black people among them too that was trying to stop me from doing what I was doing, which was only trying to unify. But I realized in that moment, because I went out, Malcolm X was my hero at that time. So I was studying all his tapes and I went out in that energy. And so I kind of discredited white folks. And I didn't receive the help like in the movie of Malcolm X when the white girl came up to him and said, well, how can we help? And he said, you can't. So
I did a white girl like that the other day.
Yeah, but you miss your blessings.
Yeah, I know. I missed that rape charge and all that other bullshit she got.
There are people that see the problem as a human issue, a humanitarian issue, as a human right as opposed to civil rights. When you say civil rights, you are already taking yourself, you blocking your blessing. When you say this is a human issue, now everybody comes together based on your human right. The key is human rights. Civil rights is a con. That was a trick in order to further divide people. Human rights is where we need to address, because what is happening right now is not good for humanity as a whole.
Oh, it ain't.
We have to get back into that. We've got to get back into love for all. Love is the key, and it doesn't discriminate. Love doesn't discriminate.
I'm not loving everybody.
Well, we don't. A lot of people. I understand the anger. I understand the frustration, and I understand that. But the only way that we're going to be able to help ourselves is to actually get back into the love of all.
I love you, brother.
I love you as well.
But I ain't loving everybody.
We have to realize that the breath of life is in all human beings. Even in the breath of life, the fundamental breath of life. The essence that I'm pointing to in the book that we wrote called HOTEP.
Well, ain't it good breath and bad breath?
Huh? Is it good breath? That's only a perception. That's another mind construct.
No, they ain't a perception. Motherfucker need a Mentos.
All this is a mind. I probably need one right now myself. So, I understand.
I got jokes.
I appreciate that.
I got comedy, knowledge, and nigga shit mixed in.
I listen to you. I understand. I think what you're doing is great. I know that some people have a problem just with your title alone of the organization called the New Black World Order.
That's right. No whites allowed.
But I tell you, as far as I'm concerned, black is not a color. Black is a state of consciousness. Okay. Before the light, there was pure blackness, triple darkness, in fact.
Dark matter, dark energy.
There is no white, because no Caucasian is white.
I know.
They are pale. They are without melanin. They're not without melanin. They have lesser melanin than the darker. The darker the hue, the more melanin. Right. The lighter the hue, and everything on this earth got melanin, even your internal organs. So white people got, even in their liver and their kidneys and their brain, all that has melanin. So we ain't no deal. We all bleed the same. We all bleed the same. The conditioning is what's causing a problem. If there's a racist white person, they weren't born that way. That was through learning. Somebody taught that child racism. Somebody taught that, and if a black person is racist, it's not born that way. It's taught racist. It's taught good and evil. You wouldn't know nothing about good and evil or God or the devil if somebody didn't teach you that.
I'm a proud black supremacist.
I understand that, but again, for me, I'm talking about HOTEP.
And you know what I mean when
black
I mean
means supreme balance, and that's what I strive. And I can't say I strive to it, because then that will put me back in the concept of being a person.
That's what you are.
So that's what I am.
Right.
That is what I am. Not I as the physical body, but I am as in God. Because that's what God said to refer to him as I am, meaning existence. Existent. Behold, I exist. And I exist as what? I exist as pure consciousness. In the form of a human being, right now speaking to you as HOTEP TALAH AMUN.
Okay. And so do you talk about this in your book?
Oh, yeah. All of this is in the book. It's not, and I'm going to improve that book. It has the messages in there, but I know as I continue to experience, I will be able to articulate it better. Because I'm working on delivering this message into it so that even a baby can understand. Because this is not a widely accepted message right now, because the mind, immediately after we leave this conversation, and immediately when the people stop listening to it, they got to go back and deal with their children and deal with their work and deal with their situation. So the personhood comes back into play, and they like, I ain't got time for all that. So, but the truth is that you can do all the things that you need to do and still be in your position as I am. Okay. And only you will do it better, because you won't have the whispering of Nakash, which they call the devil, Genesis 3:1. The word for devil in Genesis 3:1 is Nakash. It means to whisper. Whispering takes place in your mind. So you have to be able to observe the thought before you act on it and let it out. And next thing you know, you're attacking me because of whatever you're experiencing throughout that day. So what I got to do with what you experiencing out that day? Right. Or something you disagree because your mind is all messed up, so you want to come and get mad at me. Right.
That's what I was saying on the video, Miss Me, with the Obama shit. You know, let's say I'm driving the car, I'm just trying to go to the store. Yeah. An officer maybe listening to Alex Jones talk shows, and he got these talking points in his head. Yeah. He's mad at Obama. He's mad because the Mexicans are in the country. Yeah. He's mad about the Trans-Pacific Trade Agreement. Yeah. And he pulled me over. He see me, I'm black. Yeah. He thinking I voted for Obama. Yes, yes, yes. He think I'm in it. That was my message. Miss me with that shit.
I understand.
You feel me? Yeah. Because if that's what you come into the car to do, to punish me because you think I'm an Obama voter, well, how about I didn't vote for his ass? How about going back and get in your car because you barked up the wrong damn tree? And I done tried this shit before. The cop run up on you and say, look, I don't fuck with Obama. The motherfucker pull off. He be like, hey, have a nice day.
Really?
I did this shit. Wow. Try it.
Well,
if I'm lying, I'm saying to the audience,
what I would say about that is those same people that left, once you said that, the question is who you vote for. Who did they vote for? And the question is, whoever they voted for who lost was just as bad as Obama. Because all of them is in the bed together. All of them is working for the corporate America, who is owned by the banker cartel. So all of this is corrupt. All of the whole political process is corrupt. I know, I was in it. I'm not talking about what I believe, I'm telling you what I know. I was in the political game trying to make a difference through that medium. But that medium is full of crap. It is corrupt. all sides, Republican, you got two sides of the same bird. It's the same bird with two wings, the right wing and the left wing.
And how grandma opened the chicken up? She hit that motherfucker right in the chest.
Right in the chest. So it's a game being played on you.
Right. You hit that bird in the chest, you kill both wings.
You're afraid to step out of the game because it's going to affect your dollars.
Right.
I understand what it is. You got a certain lifestyle you want to live, and you want certain freedom, and you want certain privileges, so you're not going to make, you're not going to speak out against this.
They're not going to rock
You don't even want to look at it. So that means that you deserve what you get.
Right, you're a coward because you sentence the next generation.
I'm not going to say you're a coward because then I will be referring to the person because I know you are God. But because of what you think yourself to be,
that's a coward.
That is some cowardly activity. But if that's what you got to do for now, then that's what you got to do. I understand looking at the baby. I understand looking at the wife and seeing that child and knowing you got to feed that child. But sometimes you got to do a little less. We have to come together. So you don't have to get the big dollar job. You might have to get the little dollar job and bring your brothers and sisters
Muhammad
together.
Ali showed us that you can do that.
Everybody got a little job in order to take care of our family. We don't need their fancy cars. We don't need their fancy house. We don't need their jewelry. We don't need to take trips to Las Vegas. We can live in a village like we used to back in the day, like Abraham did in a tribe, and we can live off of nature. Nature don't cost nothing. But we don't want that. We want air conditioning running all day long. We want all the comforts, and we don't want to be uncomfortable.
Right,
and
because
that's the problem.
So
we're dealing with the crap that they're giving us.
Right, the ego makes us become very bored, right?
Very what?
Bored.
Okay.
Right? And so everything that's eternal that we see in the universe is repetitious to do the same thing all the time.
That's right.
But most of the things that are eternal has a daily ritual.
Tell me one thing that's eternal.
The sun.
The sun has a time limit. It burns out. It's not eternal.
But it's going to come back.
But listen, the only thing that's eternal, anything that goes and comes is not eternal. I'm going to tell you what's eternal. The only thing that's eternal is what the sun is sitting in. It's blackness. The stars, moons, the sun is all sitting in blackness.
Because that same process is going to create another sun.
Look in Hebrews chapter 7 verse 1. They said Melchizedek had no mother, no father, no beginning, no end of days. Could they be talking about a man? No. It's impossible to be talking about a man. Because even Jesus had a birth date. There's no other being in the scripture who those attributes are placed upon. They had no mother, no father, no beginning. So they're talking about a state of consciousness.
So is the universe eternal? They say that's dying too, just like the sun.
Universe, uni meaning one and verse means separate is a trick word.
Right. It's a multiverse.
We can even do that. And even the multiverse is within all.
That's dying too.
That's within all. Yeah, it has a birth record. It's beginning and end. The only thing that doesn't have it is
it ain't God. Don't say God.
No, I'm not going to use that word because I know God comes from the German word gut, and it's a limited. I mean, that has been poisoned.
Right.
That's been poisoned. But I understand what it's referring to. So we do have to get past that word.
Right.
We do have to.
We have to understand that word.
We better understand that
and
word.
understand it.
Because that's who we're praying to, and that's why our prayers ain't being answered.
Say that again.
That's who we're praying to, and that's why our prayers ain't being answered. Because that is not the original. That's not even the original language of the Most High.
That's what I say to Muslims.
That is a German word.
How could Allah be God?
Who was the Germans?
Is Allah German?
Hitler was German.
Is Yahweh German?
Hitler was German,
and Hitler was
trying to destroy everything that wasn't European. Or I can't even say European because he was trying to destroy the so-called Jews. So anything that was not German.
Right.
German means a German, a man who has a germ. So that word is dangerous. That's a dangerous word. We use it as teachers because that's what people understand.
Because that's what the average person on the street understands.
Exactly. But we prefer to get back into the original language, which actually is even before the Allah. Eliyun El is one of the oldest names of the Most High.
On high.